Hello there.
Hello there.
Well, I recovered from that swift kick in the nuts. Yar! On Monday night, and I have returned to break down the mess that was the Bears versus the Vikings.
83. Fact machine.
I have to say, at first, this thing started out great. Bears forced a 3 and out. Then they matriculated their way down the field, scoring a first possession touchdown, something we hadn't seen all year last year. And then they went and held the Vikings to another 3 and out. And I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, okay.
Guys are very nice.
However, even during this series of events, something looked off about the offense. I noticed that Caleb was looking downfield and didn't appear to be finding anyone open. He was taking check down plays of 5 to 7 yards, which I wasn't complaining about. I even commented on some social media at the time. I'll take a 7-yard check down anytime. That means you're not even getting a third down. But upon observing this during my live stream, I started to comment, I wish I could see further downfield on the broadcast, because the question was, is there nobody open, or is he just not seeing them open? We would start to get our answer as this game would go on. Anyways, as the game progressed, the Bears had a 4th down in the second quarter, and I think Ben Johnson got greedy. Obviously, he spent the last 3 years working under Dan Campbell, who was one of the most aggressive head coaches in the league. However, when deciding to be aggressive, you also need to factor in your personnel and the situation that you're in. Now, in my opinion, it's still early in the game, and you're up 7-3. So there's no reason to push your luck, kick the field goal and go up 10-3 and go back to defense. That way you keep a good vibe, you got points, and you're still moving along with your team. Unfortunately on this play, Caleb would miss a wide open DJ Moore, and they would end up turning the ball over on downs. This is the moment where it started to feel like the old Bears again. And if you're a Bears fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Bears would end up scoring a field goal before the end of the half, but ultimately would play the sequence out clumsily, leaving enough time on the clock for the Vikings to have a return to the 31, and then JJ McCarthy would complete only one pass, setting the Vikings up to score 3 more and go into the halftime only down 4, with the Bears leading 10-6. The Bears would open the third quarter with the ball, and Caleb would start with 3 straight incompletions. I had completely forgotten about this sequence because on the next series, Nashawn Wright would pick JJ McCarthy off and take it to the house for 6 points. I was overjoyed during this moment, and in my elation completely forgot about the 3 incompletions that Caleb had just thrown prior. And of course the Vikings would end up with the ball again after the pick 6, which put the 3 incompletions even further back in my memory. So at this point, I thought everything is going well. The Bears are up 17-6, kicking some ass. And then once again those old Bears vibes started to roll in. At the time I didn't disagree with it, but Ben Johnson challenged a possible fumble. Now, the reason I didn't disagree with it was because I am not 100% familiar with the rule book. I had assumed that even though the player's knee was down, the fact that the ball was punched out and no other part of the player was touched, that it was possible that this ball could end up going to Chicago. However, in the rule book, even when you touch the ball, if the player is down, then he is down by contact. Now, I don't make $13 million a year, so I'm not required to know these things. But there's someone on the Bears sideline who is. After this challenge would fail, the Bears obviously would lose a timeout, and then everything would start to fall apart in the fourth quarter. Starting with a missed field goal from 50, which is not exactly a long distance kick by today's NFL standards. The Vikings would go on to score 3 straight touchdowns, making the Bears' run defense look awful in the process. At the same time, the Bears' run game could not get going, and I was often frustrated by one of 2 things happening. The first being the center of the offensive line, highly paid and highly touted this offseason, were unable to get any push in the run game. And even in times when they were able to get push in the run game, you would often see DeAndre Swift dancing in the backfield rather than hitting the hole head first. By the time the Bears would finally start moving the ball down the field again, it was too little too late. A circus catch made by Cole Kmet that did not have to be one because Caleb seems to be unable to lay the ball in on those second level throws, and a hospital ball to DJ Moore that had me worried that he'd be available for next week or even next month. Shockingly, you would see DJ in on the next series. Bears would go on to score the touchdown, but with only 2:02 and 1 timeout remaining, the Bears would have to force the Vikings to be unable to return the kickoff to prevent those 2 seconds from ticking off the clock. This would effectively be a timeout that they would be able to use after the Vikings ran their first play. However, it was not meant to be, as Cairo Santos lacked the leg to get the ball out of the back of the end zone. In yet another moment showing Ben Johnson's status as a rookie head coach, he could have simply had his kicker either kick the ball out of bounds or just not have it land in the landing zone, and the ball would have simply been placed at the 40. 5-yard difference from being kicked out the back of the end zone. You would have had to stop him either way. Of course, we hope our boys can get this cleaned up this week as they have a short turnaround and go into the Lions' Den to play Detroit this weekend. I will once again be live streaming during this game, and I hope you guys will join me. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share, and I hope to see you guys again real soon.